Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us on another Alternative Money Monday. So
there we go.
There we go. All right, now we're ready. So we've been playing around a little bit with the name of the show. It's been the DLT sandwich, and so far I'm getting a little kind of wishy-washy feedback on the DLT sandwich. So we may be going with Alternative Money Mondays. That's getting a little bit better response. So for now, I'm going to be calling it Alternative Money Mondays. But in any case, it's the same familiar faces talking about some of the similar kind of stuff. So we appreciate everybody being here. My name is Jeremy Fletcher. I'm co-founder of a little software company called Ledgerama. We built the original HBAR wallet, Walla Wallet, and happy to be in this community. Proud to be here. Silton again from Zimbali Networks joining us for part 2 of this interview. We appreciate your precious time as always. Caitlin Lance, my main man Brandon, the HBAR Bull, and our man in Kenya, Tim Mungai. Great to have all of you as per usual. So without further ado, if it's okay, we'll just go ahead and jump into the Market Monday part of the show. Silton, I'm going to check in with you real quick. How are you doing on time today? Do we need to skip straight to the
No, we're good to go. I'm going to be part of the channel today. So as long as you need me, I'm here.
All right, great. And I do have to take off at 12:30. So just kind of a heads up on that one. Around 12:30, right around 12:30, I've got to split. So Brandon, if you could, let's jump into the Market Monday part of the show. And if you could kind of give a little rundown of how things are looking over the past 7 days.
Sure. So last week we had a pretty nice run in crypto. Bitcoin got up back above 20,000 and made a good little run, almost or right about up to 22,000. I think a lot of that was because of the reprieve in oil prices. Oil prices have been trending down a little bit over the past several weeks, and we're down to about $104 a barrel. Of course, a year ago that would have sounded sky high, but compared to some of the prices we've seen recently, that's not too bad. And of course, those prices bleed through to the rest of the economy. So it's, I think, indicating that the Federal Reserve might be able to take their foot off the brakes a little bit when it comes to interest rates, raising interest rates. So that gave us a little bit of a pump over the past week until the past 24 hours. It's been trending down a little bit over the past 24 hours as far as the crypto market, and I think that has a lot to do with just pressure in the risk asset markets in general. The NASDAQ is down 2% today, and I think that's having a pretty good impact on Bitcoin, which is down about 5% over the past 24 hours. HBAR in particular sitting at about 6.2 cents, and it's been kind of in a range between 6 and 7 cents recently. I'm surprised that it doesn't have a little bit more of a run when Bitcoin was having its run, but now that things are pulling down, HBAR isn't pulling down quite as much as I was expect. It seems like we have some pretty good support right around 6 cents. Now, who knows? Could that be because there's a buyer that's willing to buy there but not chase the price up? That's certainly possible, but that's just pure speculation. So that's pretty much where we stand. We're having a little bit of a rocky day today. Markets are pulling back a little bit, but overall, HBAR's holding up okay.
All right, great. So as always, of course, not investment advice. We are people on YouTube sharing our opinions, educated opinions as they may be. Please don't take it as investment advice. Do your own research. All right, so jumping in a little bit of the HBAR news, of course, had some nice news coming out of Web 2.3, the smart domains. So smart domains is something that's really been kind of a hot ticket lately. And it's been a hot ticket really since the beginning, back at Hedera 18. The first place winner there in Dallas was HNS Domains, the Hedera name service. That team has since kind of fallen off the Hedera map, but certainly that was one. They won first place right there under Manson Lehman's noses there in Dallas. So we know that smart domains are something that's been it's been desired. So Web 2.3 and a good friend of ours and an HBAR founder member, Dell, leading the charge there. So they're looking to protect users from phishing scams. So essentially the smart domains, as I understand it, there's a number of benefits from that. You can link your domain to other similar domains, right? So to avoid the phishing scams. They're also looking to tokenize existing Web 2 domains, which sounds really interesting. I'm not 100% clear on how they're going to go about tokenizing those domains. Happy to hear any ideas or suggestions as to how they might go about doing that. And we're going to try. I'm going to work on getting Dell here so he can talk about it himself sometime in the coming weeks. And looking to be compatible with ICANN, the Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers. So it's an American, so ICANN is an American multi-stakeholder group. It's a nonprofit organization that's responsible for coordinating the maintenance and procedures of databases related to namespaces, such as the domain names. So they're looking to be compatible with ICANN and Web 2. So some pretty exciting stuff coming out of Web 2.3 there. Happy to see them and their relationship with the HBAR Foundation. So super to see that support. And also, of course, the gaming news. Big news over the past couple of weeks with Ashfall coming into the picture here. So Ashfall being a AAA game. So of course, gaming is kind of always been hot, and there've been, the crypto community and the gaming community are oftentimes, well, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. So, a lot of the techies are gamers and also into cryptocurrency, but, in the past, it's kind of caused a little bit of grief between the gamers and the cryptocurrency miners, the Ethereum and Bitcoin miners, because there's so much demand for those, for those graphics cards that it kind of pushed the price of the graphics cards kind of into the stratosphere, to where all the gamers are having a hard time affording those really new cutting edge graphics cards that they're always eager to get their hands on. So kind of a love-hate relationship going on between the crypto and gaming community, but I think I really feel like we're kind of in the same family. So really cool to see. There's been some grumblings about NFTs in the gaming space, and there's been some struggles with some of the gaming platforms, that are trying to go Web3. But now with Ashfall, I mean, we're talking about a AAA game, and I was looking at some of the history of the people behind this Ashfall game, and I mean, it's some pretty impressive stuff. So the guys from Lithos, I mean, we're talking about the developers of Last of Us, Uncharted, and Days Gone, and I haven't played or seen Uncharted or Days Gone, but I have seen. I have a really good friend that was playing the Last of Us game, and apparently Last of Us 2, from what I read, is the most awarded game in history. So they have got, so I mean, we're talking about it's a AAA team with a AAA product. Of course, the game Ashfall looks like it's going to be taking place in kind of a dystopian future where they're fighting for survival, amongst global warming catastrophes, and looks like a volcano has exploded somewhere near it's not Mount Whitney, is it? What's the mountain right there next to kind of close to Seattle? So you kind of
Mount St. Helens.
There it is. Thank you. Right. So you can, one of their marketing pictures, you can see the Space Needle there in Seattle with the volcano exploding in the background. Pretty cool. And hence the name Ashfall. So you can imagine there's going to be some stuff going on there. What's that?
Just a thing. I hopefully we won't get there in reality if people must adopt hashgraph technology.
Right. Yeah, we kind of curb some of that global warming activity with the highly efficient HBAR and Hedera network, which is of course one of the benefits that they tout, which only makes sense. I mean, energy efficiency in really anything. I mean, this crypto space is all about improving efficiencies, whether it's in financial markets or all over the place. So finding having a platform that is also energy efficient, is super important. Also, some news. Looks like Mance was there talking to David Lin of Kitco. So if any of you are gold and silver bugs out there, as I certainly have been for a long time, Kitco is a very well-known name in the gold and silver space, and so we're happy to see them getting some attention on the Hedera network, and Coupon Bureau. So we've got so there's a lot of recent with all the stuff going on in the economy recently, all the news around inflation problems, supply chain issues, coupons and consumer saving have become something that have kind of really resurfaced as a hot topic. And so we are well primed in the Hedera community, the work that's being done with the Coupon Bureau. And Brandon, you might know some more numbers on the Coupon Bureau, but they boast some pretty impressive numbers in terms of the number of coupons that they service, particularly here in the United States. I mean, it was to the tune of, it was a big number.
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head, I can't remember the number, but I know that they are, a standard-setting body in the coupon industry, and the new standard that's supposed to use Hedera is supposed to be the standard here in the United States. So you can imagine the amount of transaction volume that could add. And from what I understand, it's when the coupons are generated, redeemed, and so forth, there's actually 3 transactions that could be put on the network. Now, originally, I know that they were saying that every single one was going to be its own transaction. Now, I'm sure at some point they're going to find ways to be more efficient with that and so forth. But, like App.io and like a lot of the other applications that are looking to build on Hedera, it has a lot of potential to put a lot of transactions on our network.
Right. Yep. So any of that stuff, we're happy to see. And I mean, we've been talking about the Coupon Bureau for quite a while here. And I got to say that before I got in, particularly before we started building Walla Walla, I really, coupons was not really something that was, an exciting item on my list of things to look forward to in the future. But, we've got these technical insights surrounding the Hashgraph network. And as a wallet provider, the attractiveness of coupons and really creating what I see as being one of the primary benefits of this movement and the utility of the coupons is kind of becoming the touch point between merchants and the rest of the not only the crypto community but also the artists and influencers, right? So we've got there's a lot of potential for these coupons, these NFT based coupons, geolocation based coupons, all different types of coupons being this major touch point for the merchants in the economy, which I think is really, I mean, we're really looking towards the merchants to kind of move the crypto space out of the kind of experimental early adopter phase and into the mainstream. I know Drop.cc is working in that regard as well, and I believe Zimbali Networks as well.
There's a couple things when it comes to coupons that, Hedera Hashgraph can really help in. Number one is it makes it more efficient, right? If you have digital coupons, you don't have the overhead of clipping and all that kind of stuff. But you also have the efficiency of eliminating fraud, and that's what the Coupon Bureau is all about. If they can eliminate that fraud, they can make the coupons themselves more valuable because they don't have to factor those costs into their operation. So it just makes sense across the board. And you were saying you're not super excited about coupons all the time, but especially today, with the inflation that's hitting us, people are looking at that more and more. And if we can make them more value because of those efficiencies that I was discussing, all the better.
Right. Right. So Silton, are there, since we're talking about coupons, you're with the Zimbali Network and you're Just Pay Me. Is there any plans to do coupons or anything like that? Let's talk a little bit about Zimbali.
Well, so when I was first exploring, thank you for bringing me on the show. I should say that first. I'm glad to see all of you folks. I've met almost all of you at some point in time in the past, and we've all talked about the transformational capabilities of Hedera and how Hedera has brought us together as a community to do well for people, right? This is not just about having a bright idea, but there are things that we want to accomplish for the world that we believe Hedera is the best channel to make happen. So 100%. Thanks for bringing us back on the show again, Jeremy.
Oh, thanks for being here. Pleasure to have you. Pleasure to have you.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't miss it for the world. One of the things that I looked for initially when scoping out the initial idea for Zimbali was the idea of consumer transactions. And consumer transactions with vendors was a space that I thought was ripe for disruption, not just from the cost side in terms of Visa, MasterCard payments and all of that, but also from the cost side of the acquisition of devices, the utility of the software that currently exists in terms of, do you use a cloud provider? Do you use a hybrid provider? Is it something that's going to be edge computing, or is it all going to be right in some back-end processing that you don't control? And I was looking for something that was performant at the level of the economy. And when you look across most distributed ledger implementations, they aren't performant at an economic scale. By economic scale, you always use, whatever is the big dog in the room. So let's talk about Visa and MasterCard. Visa and their VisaNet service is actually the most performant payment service that's available in the world. They do 65,000 transactions per second at max tilt. For MasterCard, their implementation is roughly 35,000 to 40,000. So you're talking about, in a world of digital payments, if you're looking at the two biggest sources of payments transactionally across the globe at any moment, when you bring those two together, you're talking about 100,000 transactions per second. We know that Hedera is scaled or throttled to 10,000 transactions per second right now. But we know from testing and from the development process that it scales well over 100,000 transactions per second. Right. And that's with a stable cost profile, right? You're talking 1/100th of a penny or 2/100th of a penny, whatever it is. And so it was the only factorable, usable DLT that was available at a market economy scale that was available in the world that had real security and real commercial backing, right? So you're talking about, the Boeings and the Dutch telecoms and the folks who do a lot of transactions per second, right? And so, that was the initial exploration of Zimbali. And so consumer transactions, vendor transactions are all a part of our roadmap. Initially, when we was looking at that, there was a lot of question. Well, how will you do merchant acquisition? Right? How do you inform people? In the United States, you have the FISs and the huge performant organizations. You have the banking institutions, and then on the lower end, you have the Cash App, Square, Block. You have Toast, right, and some of these other payment service gateways and payment service companies that manage the non-federated vendors, right? So you're not a part of some sort of chain or franchise. So how, what do you do to acquire? Well, we said, one way to acquire is to go through the top of the banking system. And so that's when we went and we jumped into CBDC, because when you're working with the authorizer of retail payments, then you have a clear road, right, into this payment system. Anyway, so all that is to say, Hedera allows us to walk within that performance gateway, that performance gap that exists with retail systems, and then highly controlled commercial systems like the digital card services, to provide services at lower cost, at the speeds and the cost and the security profile that both vendors and retail users expect. And so coupons, when I learned about the Coupon Bureau, I didn't know about Coupon Bureau before joining the Hedera environment. When I learned what they were doing, I said, that is an adequate use case, right? That use case is something that has to scale at market speed, at market volume, and be made available. And you don't know actually when you have a coupon applied to your transaction normally, right? Sometimes you get a benefit from your vendor. It says, this coupon was applied at checkout. Well, how many millions of people are getting, this coupon code applied at checkout? So they're in a great space, utilizing a great technology. And we're lucky to actually be participating with them, because a lot of times you don't get access to those type of things on a retail scale.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned some of the big. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Oh, it's just a question that I had, because I saw you guys developing a DAO where it'll enable some sort of community lending and crowdfunding. I would also like to hear a little bit more on that.
Sounds like Tim was listening to our recording last week there, Silton.
Yeah.
Yes.
Brandon, you're just like, thanks for letting the world know. So we will get to that. I just wanted to close out sort of this payment side with the the questions at the moment. But I will definitely answer that for you, Tim, because it is a major part. One of the things about Zimbali, and the reason why we call it Zimbali Networks with an S, networks, is that there are many components to financial operations, right? To the financial infrastructure of the world. So for example, if you're a central bank and you issue a currency, you have to have a means of distribution. You have to have a means of administration. You have to have a means of acceptance. You have to have a means of storage, right? And you have to have a means of attribution of value. So you're talking about what's the state of all the wallets that utilize your currency. The way that the US Federal Reserve does it is it asks its bank partners to do all that work for them. So the Federal Reserve distributes money to, money in digital form to the ledgers of those banks. And then those banks distribute as loans or payments or redemptions of checks, right? And then what do people who receive a loan or a redemption of check do? They go and they take that and put that into their bank. Okay, so then now, right? And then this keeps on going. So this expands the money supply, and then you have liquidity that operates in the market. But they all are linking into a system to recognize what all of their independent values are. In terms of payments, you're talking SWIFT, you're talking CHIPS, and you're talking the Federal Reserve retail payment system. Then there's the wholesale payment system that's run out of, I believe, Minneapolis, right? And then you have their partners who are Visa and MasterCard and sort of the digital card payment system who utilize both ACH and wire and other elements of the payment system to recognize payments between bank users. And you call that merchant acquirers and issuers, right? This complex lingo. And what we did was we distilled all of that complex lingo down into our Just Pay Me platform. So in the Just Pay Me platform, you can issue and mint using the HTS service. You can do attribution in terms of value of wallets using HCS. And if you wanted to do a contract or you wanted to initiate some time-based or value-based contract between two or more wallets, you use the smart contract service. All those things service the commercial bank industry, the retail banking industry, the needs of vendors and consumers to utilize a single platform for their financial life. And that's what Zimbali was designed to create. And so we have the Just Pay Me platform, which is your payments wallet, very similar to Walla Wallet. And I apologize, Jeremy, I didn't know Walla Wallet was there and an opportunity. I would have worked with you sooner on that, but I think that maybe we have some opportunities in the future to work together so that when we're utilizing these rails, people have the option to come together. And then you have the Oro platform. The Oro platform allows for group payments and group management of services at a community level. Really, really briefly, if you think about the needs of communities, whether they're funding projects or whether they are receiving funding for projects, how do they do that now? There's a lot of off-chain or out-of-band communications. You have calls, you have emails, you have texts, right? You have WhatsApps and Messenger. You have all these mechanisms to try to tell the world that we're trying to fund this thing, whatever it is. It could be a school, it could be a little league team, it could be some donation or some Red Cross, right? There's all these mechanisms that's going out in the world, and you may or may not be caught by any one of those mechanisms at any given time. If you are caught by one of them and then you find out, then they say, well, we'll give you a link and then we'll figure out how to process your donation and put in your credit card, your debit card, or send a check, right? And then once you do that, they say, thanks. And you don't hear anything about it again. If it's outside of the United States and, communities are broad, we're all diasporic in some way, right? We all come from somewhere and we may work and live somewhere else. And people are asking for help and support. You'll get a call, a WhatsApp, a text, whatever it is. And then you have to figure out a way to get money to them. Usually it's like a Western Union, MoneyGram type of send, or in communities that are a little bit more close-knit and aren't as trusting of digital systems, it's, I'm going to send my money to Tim, and I know Tim's going to get the money into the, right, in Kenya or in Nigeria or Rwanda, right? So then the trust factor is, I still have to find a way to get him money. He might be the bridge to me funding it, but that doesn't scale well. Tim, unfortunately, you don't scale well. Right? You only have so much bandwidth. I can only reach you so many times. Your account is only going to take so much ingest. You're not going to want to tell everybody what your bank account number is, right? You don't scale well. In comes Oro, right? Oro sits at the nexus of community needs and community financing, so that you can have a one-stop shop for your particular community needs and spin something up and say, all right, I'm going to go into the Oro DAO project, and I'm Silton, and I'm going to fund a school in Rwanda. Great. I know the people in Rwanda who are building the school. I'm going to invite them into this community project. It's going to be a collective that's going to have their information. I'm going to give them a base for funding. So I said, everyone has to put in $100, right? And when you invite people, it's going to be invite only. And the school project has to have some address, some account, some link that's whitelisted. And we're going to put that into our smart contract proposal. And then every time there's a proposal for us paying for lumber or cement or water or clothes or whatever it is, that goes into the smart contract. We all vote, and then the smart contract initiates the payment. All the members can see where every payment is going. All the members can identify, right, when and how this payment and transaction was initiated and when the distribution occurred. And you have an ongoing link to your community, not just, by virtue of the person that that's linked into the community, but your actual presence is recognized as a membership within this DAO collective. And so that is valuable. And that can actually tie into just pay me. Imagine now the smart contract says, we'll pay into a Walla wallet or into a just pay me wallet. And then they go and they commit spends in that way. Now you've just kept it digital, right? And so now you've given people a means of spending and receiving funds. You've given them a means of collecting and distributing funds, and it's all visible and transparent end to end, and you've met the goals of that community's needs. That's what Zimbali is about, linking these opportunities together and utilizing technology to leverage against the imbalance that currently exists in both the digital services world as well as the financial world. I hope that made sense.
It does. It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Because I think especially the issue that you brought up of the transparency, like if a project is being funded and X items are needed for it, so it's immediately put up in the smart contract, and everybody is allowed to see what's going on. So there won't be any problem when it comes to accountability. Really interesting.
Now you touched on it a little bit, Silton, but I wanted to see if you could maybe expound on it a little bit. This idea of the way in which Zimbali achieves this interoperability with the existing financial system, right? So when I think of DAOs, I think of things that are essentially on chain or on graph, right? And it's kind of we're still in our cryptocurrency world. How are you bridging the gap into the traditional existing fiat financial system? And I realize there may be some secret sauce in there. You don't have to share any secret sauce, but just a little bit about how you're achieving it.
Well, no, I will tell you everything that is in our decks that we make available to the world. So it's not a problem.
Great.
So we are not antagonistic toward the pre-Web3 world, right? And so you're talking about Web 0, 1, and 2. Mm-hmm. And so we have been talking with some of the largest agents that operate in those worlds. So one of them I mentioned earlier is central banks. Central banks are, I don't even know if they're like pre-Web 0, right? They're like,
Oh, yeah.
revolutionary war. There's Adam Smith just like put gold here and give people some money kind of thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
But the idea is that regardless of where you are on your technological spectrum, you have basic needs. And you really don't care the mechanism for delivery. Typically, there are some sort of ESG type of goals, right? And CSR type of goals where you're looking at some responsibility clause, right? Where you don't want to destroy the environment, right? You want to be humane, for, processing of, right, animals and things like that. You want some provenance to know that you're not using blood diamonds or you're not, right? So you do have those components. But what you expect is that your vendor is going to take care of that, and that you're going to support the vendor that can prove to you that they are taking care of those ESG type of goals. But for you, if you need milk tonight, you just want to be able to go and purchase milk. And if you don't have enough money on your credit card, you don't have enough money in the bank, in your debit card, if you could use a coupon and go and do it, you'll do it. If someone sends you a Bitcoin or an HBAR to go and do it, you'll take it, right? So for us, delivering what people need in the time that they need it is our paramount goal. So what did we do? We went back and we said, who provides these things now? We went and we talked to Visa, and Visa said, we'd love to help you deliver services to a world that either doesn't know about Visa, doesn't think that they, have access to Visa resources, right? Or that have never heard of us. I mean, believe it or not, there's people who've never really heard of a credit card, right? And so we're able to link the provision of their services to ours for the goal of delivering, right, these end goals of digital payment, access, security, transparency and visibility, the ability to create a history of payments that can create credit and, right, all these type of things. And we have no issue linking with the prior existing infrastructure. What we do have issue with, and what we are constantly evaluating in terms of all of our partnerships, is cost and friction. So I'm not going to be like a lot of fintechs, none of whom I'm going to mention, but a lot of fintechs are basically a wrapper on top of an already existing financial service. Even if they call themselves Web3, they're running on top of something that's fraught with friction and whatever else, but it has a local face on it. Right? If you're South American, it has a Latinx face. If you're African, it has an African face. If you're Southeast Asian, it has. And so you're not getting, even though you are receiving the good or service that you want through this mechanism, it's not necessarily in the most beneficial, the most efficient, and the most honest way. Sometimes fintechs cost more. And that doesn't seem to work with the ethos, right, of what it is that we're trying to do. At Zimbali, we're trying to increase efficiency, lower costs, increase reliability, lower risk, right? Increase availability, right? Lower time to service and latency, right? And so we have this duality where we have to pull some resources from pre-Web3 and then deliver capability so that we reach the optimal balance for people to achieve their goals in utilizing financial services worldwide. And we have no issue working with anyone. It's just they have to come to the table honestly and say, here's what we can provide within our rubric, right? Within our goal set, right? for cost and efficiency and reliability. And if they can do that, we'll work with you at any time.
Great. Awesome. So, wow. It raises all kinds of questions, and I love it that every time we talk,
Yeah, it
Silton, it's like I've got, I start off with, like this time, I was smart this time. I started off with only 2 questions. Last time we talked, I had, I think, 4 or 5 questions. I was like, oh man, we really got into it. And so I refined it. Now I don't even think I'm going to have time to get to the second question. So hopefully at some point in the undetermined future, we'll do Zimbali Networks interview part 3. And this will just be an ongoing thing.
Sure.
Are there any questions from Caitlin or Brandon or Tim? Any questions from the panelists for Silton and Zimbali Networks before we wrap this episode up?
I got my questions in last week. I'll have more coming out soon, I'm sure. But I'm just excited for what they're doing, and I'm excited what it can do for the HBAR community and the broader crypto community. I think there's a lot of potential there.
Absolutely, and Zimbali Network's kind of taking the bull by the horn, so to speak, with this existing financial system interoperability. I appreciate that greatly, because we need those ambassadors, so to speak, right? We need those companies and those people that have experience within the existing financial system, such that we can kind of bridge that gap. Because really, at the end of the day, what we're working to do is just increase efficiencies and make everybody's lives better, right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do. So we need folks like you so bad that can kind of help push the envelope, so to speak. So we really appreciate everything you do. I want to just give a quick shout out to everybody joining us. Creative Coast, Caitlin Lance and Jen Bonet been helping out Walla Walla and the Ledgerama team since very early on. So really happy to be co-hosted here and have the help of Creative Coast. Brandon, the Hedera Forum and the HBAR Bull. We always appreciate you being here. My main man, Tim, helping me out with all kinds of stuff these days. I mean, Tim has really become my right-hand man. So I can't thank him enough for all the work that he does. And of course, Silton, for joining us and giving us your time. I know you're probably a very busy man. It seems like every time I talk to you, you're in an airport or, you've got, I'm sure you're moving around a lot. So that's a good sign. But, and thanks for saying that, thanks for bringing that up about working together with Walla Walla. I look forward to discussing how we can kind of help each other. I mean, we've got some technological resources that may be of some help to you. And I'm sure you've got plenty of business relationships and acumen and some tech side as well that could help us out. So we'll kind of get some of the ideas cross-pollinating, and I look forward to it. So
one of the things I learned in this process is that you don't compete with your friends. Right. What you do is you elevate your friends and you create a bigger pie. So here we are. I love learning about you. Brandon, thank you for basically opening up a world to me that I didn't know. I'm a fan of your show as well as a participant, and I learned so much, both from you as a person and from what you guys do. So thank you for bringing me in and allowing us at Zimbali to talk with you about the future.
Awesome. All right, and next week we're going to get back into full swing with the token giveaways. We didn't do any of the token giveaways this week, but we're going to come back in full swing next week. We're going to do double duty, and we'll do 2 giveaways next week. So again, thanks everybody for joining us on Alternative Money Mondays. It was a pleasure to have all of you out there in YouTube land, and we will talk to you next week. Signing off. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.